We need some pump up energy today, right? Feels like the energy is like a little bit mellow. Maybe that's just me. Hello from Northwest. I love you guys as hearts. Northwest Territories of Canada. Awesome. Another from Canada. Thank you, Juliana. I see you popping those hearts. And everybody out there's the stream. I love it. You guys are awesome. All right, guys. What are we talking about tonight? If you are new, my name is Serah Delane, the Conscious Lifestylist, and this is Soul Circle, and we talk about conscious living and relationships and overall just keeping it real. And we do a few cards at the end. How on point was last week's card like layout? Are you guys still feeling that from this week? You guys should be able to see the replay on YouTube as well. I have not been posting them on my Instagram, IGTV. They have been up on YouTube. Recently learned the breath of fire and actually felt vibrations through my body. Badass, Gloria. That is such an incredible, like, that breathing technique. That, like, maybe with like a little Wim Hof. Breathe. I think we kind of forget a little bit about breathing. I know it's one of those unconscious things that we just do and we don't really think about, right? But there's amazing healing benefits of doing like conscious breathing techniques. So that's really super dope. In my higher heart mind coherence, like visual meditation, I incorporate, it's kind of like breath of fire. So it's a little like fast paced in and out through the nose. So yeah, it's definitely, that's a good one for sure. I love that. Love that. So if you guys don't know about breath of fire, definitely check that out. Hey, Helen, the cards nailed it. Yes. A huge shout out, you guys. If you did not see on my stories, Lifted podcast, interviewed by the beautiful, the amazing goddess, Helen, who is on here. Denim, baby, is that how I'm pronouncing your last name right? We had such a good time. This girl asks so many fun, amazing questions. So in my stories, I put a swipe up to the iTunes link. But of course, if you go to Lifted Podcast, or babe, if you want to put in the handle for it's in my stories. Such a fun conversation. It just felt like we were just jamming like two girlfriends. So it's part 1. Part 2 is going to be dropping on Sunday, I believe. Girl, check me on that. So this is the part 1 is still definitely out though. Such a good one. What did we talk about? We talked about NDE and dreams and subconscious and a few other amazing things. Reading Ben Decker. What do you mean, baby? Do you guys want Ben to come back on? I just texted him earlier. We'll see if I don't know if he's in the circle tonight, but he said he would come back on. Let's give some hearts if we would love to see Ben on Soul Circle again. Let's see. Learning how to let go when you love so deeply. Okay, is that a question, babe? Or is that like a statement of like what you're currently doing? Let me come back to that real quick. Yes, Helen. Oh my gosh, you're such a badass. We are lifted. Okay, that's the handle for the podcast. But again, you can swipe up in my stories on Instagram. So you guys on YouTube, check out my Instagram account. And in the stories, and you can go and listen to it there. Part 2 is on Sunday. Yes. Let's talk about that. Okay. What's your exact question with learning how to let go when you love so deeply? There's a lot of energy in this room right now. It's like, it's making me, I got to ground in a little bit. Okay. Hang on. Okay. There's a lot of energy coming through tonight. What's the exact question? Your husband moved out. Okay. And what's the question, love? What is the question? Who here can totally relate with like needing to learn how to let go better? Or feeling like you're struggling to let go or struggling to, that you're holding on to past relationships. Understanding his process, okay, and let him go. Yes, relating all of the way. Feel that. Yes, waving hands. Very much so. Okay. It's such an interesting. Yes, yes, yes. Interesting. I'm learning to surrender and let go of my emotions. Let's not let go of them. Let's embrace them. That might be a little bit of the difference too. Okay, so wow, the energy is really, really, really bizarre tonight. Okay, I don't know what I'm picking up on, but it's really bizarre. So bear with me on that. Yes, hoping someone will come back, right? But then, so here's the thing. If we're hoping somebody's going to come back, if we're still in that space of trying to let go, right? Okay. The more that we concentrate on needing to let go or wanting to let go or having that conversation of like, oh, I need to let go, or I need to cut the cords, or every, full moon or whatever, right? And you're doing your release ritual or something like that, you're actually re-inviting it into the present. So every time we say that we need to do something, or every time that we say, you focus on what's not working, right? You guys already know this, but it's interesting when it comes to like what you're trying to let go of, you're actually bringing back into your present circumstances, right? So in the situation of somebody leaving, this is it's not easy, right? Because all relationships, we hope that they're going to continue for as long as possible, right? Like that's the real human side of us, and doesn't always go down like that for whatever reason. Sometimes other people's processes get in the way of keeping that connection. Maybe sometimes your process is getting in the way of keeping that connection, whatever it is. What's most important is to steer away from the finger pointing, right? Because that's reopening up whatever those anxious or wounded heart feelings, right? Like I'm still maintaining, like there's this relationship PTSD element that we all have. And everybody is so like they're holding their cards and their hearts so much closer to themselves now, because there is not one person on this planet, right? Unless you're like a 2-year-old, but even they're still dealing with like emotional heartbreak in their own form, right? So there's not one person on this planet that hasn't dealt with something like that. And we're so, what it feels like, see if this resonates. We're so hesitant to processing those emotions because they don't feel good, right? They're hurt, like just fucking real. They're heart-wrenching, like literally heartbreak, like it's a thing. It feels like it's breaking. I remember even when mine did that, like I swear to God, I heard a crack. I really did. And it's absolutely not fun. But the more that you stay in the conversation of what did you do wrong? What went wrong, right? Maybe it's not even about you. Like the more that you're in the trying to figure it out, right? You mentioned, I don't know where the comment is now, but you mentioned something like trying to understand his process. Fuck his process. Like you don't have to worry about his process. That might, you think on one level that's going to give you some level of like release, right? So unless there's, and I know because I've done that, especially with dating multiple narcissists, because that is like the biggest mind fuck in the world to try to figure out and understand their process. There is no understanding their process. I shouldn't say it that way. There are some aspects to it. And you can run around in a looping cycle. Yes, hearts on that. You can run around in this looping cycle that is ultimately keeping you from stepping into like the next version of you, right? So there's this amazing, badass fucking goddess that is like waiting for you to show up. She's waiting for you to step into her. She's waiting for this like merge to happen. And yet she can't do that Well, you're looking in the past. I say this with so much love, babe, because you're such a badass. And I so feel you because I have been there. And so many people on here can relate. Give hearts if you can relate to this. You're looking in the past. And if you're looking in that past and trying to analyze and trying to figure it out, you know, what went wrong and blah, 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 and whatever, right? You're like mind fucking. That's what you're doing. And it's okay. And yet give yourself a rest and focus on who she is. Focus on that next badass goddess version of you that, like, this separation that happened right now needed to happen so that then you could step into her. Whether this relationship comes back together or not, because that's possible. But right now, where you're standing is the most amazing opportunity for you to step in to this like amazing future version of yourself. This goes for any person, you who I'm answering this question. This goes for anybody who's dealing with this right now or has dealt with this, right? Because maybe there's a part of that relationship dynamic where you were losing yourself. Give some hearts if you relate to that one. Let me scroll up so I can see. Okay, so maybe you were starting to lose that connection with like your divine self. Maybe you were starting to lose that connection with that higher version, that future version. Maybe you're making it all about him. Maybe you're making it all about the relationship. Maybe you were so worried about what was going on. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I think we can all relate to this one. Yes, yes. I have equally been there. And this goes for guys too, because guys still do that, right? They want to make us so happy and they're so focused on trying to make us happy, right? That sometimes they lose themselves as well. So we say one gender, we have to say about the other. And whatever you were doing, maybe you lost a little bit of touch. Yes, laugh out loud. Okay, so I'm confirming that for you. Awesome. Badass, girl. So that's why this separation needed to happen for you. Why it needed to happen for anybody who's ever experienced this, so that you could get back to, right, discovering, rediscovering, realigning, reconnecting to that version of you that either you weren't stepping into or that version of you that you're about to step into. So then you can either come back to this relationship, should that be the case, as this better, amazing, like more divinely connected, not giving away your power, not settling for less, not making it all about them, right? Creating a little bit more of like a balance in that conscious kind of relationship, right? So you can either come back and have that balance now, it was out of balance, or if it's not going to be this relationship, then whoever that next version is, or maybe there's something that you need to do on your own right now. Maybe there was so much attention going on with that you weren't focusing on some amazing, beautiful, badass aspect of you that needs to come forth. That's like the version of you and what that version of you is going to be doing. Maybe you want to like start a conscious business. I don't know. Maybe there's something that your heart has been calling you to that you've been putting on the back burner because you've been taking care of everybody else. Just saying. Does that resonate? You're welcome. Does that resonate with everybody else? We've got true. Okay, dope. And honestly, yeah, it sucks. Totally sucks. Does not feel good. Doesn't feel good for anybody. Consider that it also doesn't feel good for him. The version of him that's not feeling good doesn't feel good, right? But he's not in here today, so we're not going to talk about him behind his back. But he's got whatever he's processing, right? And just giving a little like compassion and acknowledgement for that. Because there's something that created that disconnect. You weren't the only one in that ball game together, right? So there's something that he's got that he needs for himself as well. Cool. Yes, it totally sucks. And is that not what we're all part of Soul Circle and like playing, like wanting to play at this like next level of relationships, wanting to really have that like conscious level relationships? That's what we're all here like doing, figuring it out, doing the tools for, spending the time with like self-love, personal development, right? Like the girls have got that game like on point right now. There's some solid men with that game on point too. And we need to be supporting each other in that. Kind of feeling, just as like a little side note, don't want to speak for the men. And yet I'm kind of feeling like maybe Maybe they're like pulling back and wanting to hide a little bit. Like maybe they're feeling a little bit shamed in the cultural collective right now, right? And they're not really like feeling so excited about connecting in relationships the way that there's a big conversation on kind of man shaming right now. Not to say, hear my heart on this, not to say that some aspects are not valid in, let's just call it wrongdoings, right? And yet at the same time, where are we making sure that that conversation evolves beyond any shame and blame, right? Because if we stay in that, then we're going to continue staying in the past. And if we're committed to that internal processing within, right? Then we need to look at being a continued conversation outside of ourselves, right? And making sure that whatever conversation, I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Whatever conversation there is going on, making sure that we evolve past that conversation. We don't keep looping it back around over and over again, like we do with stories in our own mind about every given relationship, right? But then we're not evolving and we're not leveling up our consciousness and our culture and our connection and our relating, right? Yes, I want to be that person. What person is that, boo? Okay, what is this? ET encounters? Good question. Okay, let me check in with you guys because I think I've missed some comments. Everything, love that, Helen. Everything is an assignment for us to upgrade. Yes, girl, yes. Okay. We are all equal and it is all valid. Love that, Orion channeling. Absolutely. 100%. Okay. What is this ET question? Are we going galactic today? Let's see. Are we talking about relationships with ETs? That's weird. Okay. Pause, Sarah. No need to alter the trajectory of discussion, but has anybody manifested an ET encounter by any chance? I love how you preface that. It's like, excuse me while I alter the trajectory, but I'm going to say not to alter the trajectory, but we're going to alter the trajectory of this conversation. Okay. Has anybody manifested an ET encounter by any chance? Okay. Anybody in the group want to answer that one? Has anyone recently or in the past manifested, like intentionally? Any experiences that I ever had were not exactly intentional. There was maybe that one time in Sedona. There's a lot of ET activity that happens in Sedona. You guys, that it's a legit thing. It's real. I have seen it multiple times with my real eyes, 100% not made up. Like I have seen things fall from the sky and go across the sky that don't look fully natural, that are larger than you would think a natural activity. Like shooting stars kind of go across, but like shooting stars don't brightly and slowly descend down, right? At least none that I have, but that's not my specialty. So could be wrong about that. Right? Okay. Let's see. So your dad might be one. That's cool. I'm pretty sure my dad is an ET. He definitely. Okay. You guys, I am loving this like fake coffee, like coffee, non-coffee stuff. It's so good. It's like chicory, carob, some other amazing things. I mean, it's not as tart as like coffee, but it's a solid close second. Okay. Surrounding baby right before you go to sleep, like objects in the room going wavy happens randomly. Is that a question, babe? Like objects in the room. So, okay. Let's put the coffee down for this one. The time that we are in right now, and what I mean by that is not that we're going to be diving super deep into astrology or anything like that, but we are on the precipice of eclipse season. And eclipses are like doorway openings, right? For a lot of different energies. There has been things going through my house for the past like 2 weeks. So, but I see lots of different stuff, right? So I get you when it's like, okay, what is in the room and objects and things moving and all of that. And it might be happening more now because we're coming into that point. We're coming into that like, I don't want to go so far to say like portal opening, but for lack of a better term right now, portal opening, right? Because it's like sun and moon crossing, right? And that's like a perfect open doorway where things like to come through. So you can set your intentions and they can be manifested a lot more quickly because of this energy right now. And it just means that that doorway is starting to creak open. And when doorways creak open, some things go through, right? When you sleep late, you're knocked out. Okay, your body is reprocessing a lot. And you swear you're in a different world. You probably are. Okay, interesting question, Helen. I love it. She's still on it with the questions. Do we want to do another podcast? You're so badass, babe. I love your questions. Can we train ourselves to channel ET energy via meditations, etc.? Okay. Here's how, this is what I believe is correct for me. I will share with you, and of course, you can do whatever you'd like to do. When it comes to channeling, some aspects of channeling is connecting with an outside energy and allowing that to come inside and inhabit your physical being, right? Speak through you. There are some masters at that, right? Abraham Hicks. Amazing, right? God goddess / God goddess. And with the exception of those people that are very, very skilled in it and are masters at that, I have also seen the flip side of people not really understanding the energy or not really getting clear on what is the highest intentional energy and allowing those energies to come through. And like I said, they're not always of the highest intent. So you got to be really super clear and discerning and on your A game with highest vibrational intentions, highest vibrational energies to know what you're allowing through you, right? I personally, nothing comes in this. Even in like, this is my temple. This is my like foundation. Anything that I receive in, when I'm saying like I'm receiving, it's an opening, right? That I am connecting to a higher vibration and I'm allowing that channel to come down, but it does not come in, right? It might be a channel that's in alignment with the physical vibration of my body, but it is not an outside entity energy that then I'm allowing inside my body. That is a big fat negatory for me personally, just because I like to keep her clean, you know? That being said, if that's something that you want to do, I would just say, like, get on your A game with the discernment, right? And really understanding how subtle energies work and how they speak and communicate so that you'll know specifically what's what you want in you. Like, I don't know how to really like, I don't know how to say it anyway, other than that, right? So when I even say channeling, I'm not bringing anything in. I'm connecting. And that's what I believe we all have the possibility, not possibility. We all have the capability, 100% capability of doing. That's your divine right to connect back to that highest source and connect it with your physical body, right? That's your soul. That's your that's connecting with highest consciousness, right? Collective consciousness. Some people want to call it Christ consciousness, right? That dude. There are some ET souls living in humans. Whew, I don't know if I want to take on that question tonight, but great question. So let's see. What else do I want to say about that? I think, does that answer that for you guys, or do we have any other questions? I feel like I went on a little bit of a tangent and I want to make sure, did I answer the question correctly and fully? Okay, so can we train ourselves to channel ET energy? So I'm going to say that you can connect with anything and everything. It's 100%. You are fully capable of doing that, right? And that also still needs discernment, because there are lots of energies that will come and say that they're of the highest, say that they're there giving, love and light and positive. They know how to talk very sweetly, right? I'm going a little bit general right now, because this is like, there's so many specific aspects to this conversation. But what I will say is that have your discernment game on lock, if that is something that you want to do. And the only reason why I say is I used to do a lot of astral projecting. I still do sometimes, right? But now I'm very much more intentional with it. Before I was like, oh, I'll go venture out and let's see who I talk to and let's see what's out there, blah, blah, blah. And some things would come that would at first seem like they were super nice and sweet. And then later I would discover that they weren't so nice and sweet, right? Talk about like cord cutting from past exes and how you let go. Like that's a whole other ball game when you're talking about multidimensional entities and energies. It's like a different level cord cutting. You know what I'm saying? So just check with yourself on making sure that you're not, just be conscious about it. That goes for everything, right? That's the name of the game of like the conscious lifestyle, bringing consciousness, bringing whatever you're unconscious about, bringing consciousness to it. So having that discernment on lock. Yes, hearts. Cool. Mic drop. You guys are funny. I love you, Jillian. Okay. The imposters. Yes, exactly. Right. Okay, this is okay to say. So don't trip. We're not going to get super morbid or anything like that, right? But keep in mind that I'm sure many of you have even heard, right? That like when they speak of the devil per se, which is really just a consciousness, right? But that personification that we call devil, they say that it, whatever. God is not a him either. And side thought, that aspect comes as a beautiful form, right? And so it's to remember that not like everything that, glitters is not gold. Everything that presents itself to be like the super sweet, whatever, like you have to have your discernment. You have to process that like through your heart, right? You have to see behind like the veil. When you can start seeing behind the veil of like over people, you'll start seeing like the true essence behind them. And you can usually tell it in the eyes. If the eyes look like a little like off or shady, then there's something a little off there, right? So you can also request to see the eyes of whoever you're connecting with in an astral projecting or whatever, right? Because if the eyes are also the window to the soul, then if something does have ulterior motives or intentions, then they won't want you to see their true soul, right? So it's a really good way of creating discernment to making that request to be like, can I see your eyes, right? Always look in people's eyes or energies' eyes. Time always confirmed the intuitions about a person. Yes, time. And if we can see past the like veil, right, then we don't need time for that. Okay, I'll give you an example. Is this helpful? Give some hearts if this is helpful, and then I'll come back around and make sure that I look into your guys' questions and stuff too. I'll give you an example. There was an experience with a person that I was very close with, and whenever I would be around them, right, there was this, yes, hearts. Okay, cool. Love you guys. Hi, Sadie, baby. I love seeing, like, you know how, because sometimes I can see all the hearts, and then sometimes I see the faces in the hearts. So when I know you guys, I can see you. I am a little ADD tonight. Okay, reel it in, Sarah. So in this experience, whenever I was around them, let me know if you guys have ever experienced this too, because I talked to some people about this and I'm like, do other people sense this? So there was like this gray, like haze in front of them, right? Like, you know what screen doors, like this is more like East Coast or like old school doors where you would like have, you would have your main door and then you'd have the screen door, right? And you know, when somebody would be on the other side and you would be standing roughly, you know, like a foot, 2 feet away, and you would see them through the screen door, but it's like this, like a gray kind of haze, right? So maybe not as dark, but this like murky thing that you just kind of want to go, like you just want to move it away, like windshield wiper, like, you know, like it wasn't going away. And I couldn't figure out what it was at the time. And so, of course, my little curious cat that was not wanting to listen to her intuition at that time, because the intuition was like, there's something on the other side of that that isn't fully authentic. Let's just call it that. And so my little curious self that wanted to understand, I wanted to figure it out. I wanted to like know. I wanted to be like, I don't know what that is. I gotta like, I want to just and like get on the other side and like figure it out, right? You don't always have to figure everything out. There's a lot of heartbreak that happens when you need to figure things out sometimes, when you don't listen to that listen and trust that true intuition. But there was that haze. Yes, you've seen it. Yes. Like in work. Okay. Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is that we do know exactly truth, thirst. I love that title. Yes. Okay. We do know. Whenever we're like, oh, I didn't know. Or like, it's like you had your intuition. You had your intuition and you knew it and you didn't listen to it. Equally had to say the same thing to myself. Okay. Yes. And so come to find out later, right? That interaction had like two parts to it, right? There was a personality aspect to that person that wasn't always shown to me, right? I'm being really vague. There were some aspects that seemed like borderline personality, or some aspects that like would flip-flop, right? So I am not diagnosing anything by any means. I have at the same time studied these things meticulously because I very much have the I need to understand. And that's why I also had to get out of my own relationship patterns, right? And that's why I love helping others to do the same. So if you're helping people do that, then yes, you need to understand. So that was my lesson and my karma to then ultimately that's what I help others and teach, right? So there's a purpose for everything. And I discovered without, clinically, but knowing enough about it psychologically, that there were some aspects of like the personality would flip-flop very quickly, right? And so whenever there was that haze, I wasn't seeing the authentic version of them. I was seeing the haze that was covering, right? It was like talk about two faces. It's like the two faces, right? So there was very much an energy that was cloaking in a way. And that's what that thing was, right? I did eventually see it. That was very interesting. But when it's cloaking, it's like you're literally seeing the cloak, but that also can be representative of, you could say someone's aura, right? Because there was a lot of murkiness in the aura because there was a lot of pain and suffering, right? And all of those things and unresolved subconscious programs. So all of that was in there, right? So like I said, not everything do you need to go in and understand and figure out. There's a lot of heartbreak with all that stuff. And yet I'm so grateful for that experience because I learned a shit ton. So, all right, where were we? It's like the guy from Sleeping with the Enemy. That's funny. Oh, too One too many times, three too many times. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. I have learned very much how to trust my intuition from the many times that I did not listen. And yet I did hear. I always heard. I always heard her. Okay. It's like you don't recognize them. Yes. Okay. Interesting you say that, Juliana. Yes, because I would look at them and I'd kind of like tilt my head like sideways. I'm like, why? Like they don't look the same. They would look like different people whenever I would see them, right? Like there might be spurts of time, like I would go away and then come back and see them. I'm like, you look like totally different. It was like they were shape-shifting, but like not. It's very interesting. How can we tell if it's our intuition? Ooh, great question. Or if we're projecting from fear or past experiences. Baby, something like that. Okay, great question. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to want to double check the podcast from Lifted. So swipe up in my stories because we definitely dive into that question about intuition and how, because everybody asks that, right? How do I know it's my intuition or like the ego side of the brain? So that we definitely dive into the podcast. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. And the past fear and experiences. So put it this way. Here's the quick answer, yet I know you guys are all totally going to get this. So intuition is translated through the heart. Fear is translated through the mind, right? So if it's like, feel where the energy is in your body or in your mind. Like feel, is it down here? Is it telling, or even here? Sometimes our gut, right? Sometimes we think our intuition, yes, it's translated through the heart, but sometimes we're like, oh, that doesn't feel good. Usually mine is mostly up here, right? It's in my heart. I'm like, like watch your body too. If your body is like trying to concave and like protect, this is a symbol of protection. This is not, oh, hi, open, loving, right? Unless you're just that person all the time, but it might be really subtle for you, right? So if you're going like this, you're trying to protect yourself. So if it's a feeling, right? Even though, yes, fear is a feeling, but track the energy and fear is happening up here, right? There's usually like you're having a conversation, that internal dialogue, right? What you're making it mean. You're replaying past stories and past experiences, right? Exactly. So if you have to ask that question, then sometimes it might be those past experiences. And full circle with that, until those past experiences, right? Until we've released that sort of relationship PTSD or those past protection programs, then chances are you're going to attract somebody who's going to keep you learning the lessons of those past patterns because you haven't released it through the subconscious and your own systems within, right? Like you haven't released the program within. So until that takes place, and that's a deeper process than like just sitting and meditating and self-loving, right? This is like really understanding you at the core level, going to that beautiful, amazing place and shifting, like reframing the past stories. We got to do that in the subconscious mind, right? So if we were working together, then that would be an aspect of really discovering what that past story is, reframing that story so that it's not being brought into your present. Right? And then you'll have more of that essence of trust of your intuition to say, okay, well, if I've released the energy around those past experiences, then this is something new now, right? This is new energy coming in. And is this a new fear or is this a new intuition? Does that resonate and does that make sense? I feel that we've got thumbs ups. Okay, cool. Yes, that's, I'm trying not to, hang on. I try not to judge because I'm talking a lot about me when I'm judging somebody. Interesting. Okay, hang on. Okay, and I see you guys down below. Yes, picking up on strangers' negative energies. Okay, hang on. Shoot, oh my God, we'll get to cards. I never know how these are going to go, these soul circles. It's like 1 minute, you know, I'm like, oh, we got plenty of time. And then it's like we fall into a portal of information. Okay, so yes, and I'm trying not to judge because I'm talking a lot about me when I'm judging somebody. Okay, so if you're judging someone, then if you're talking about you, see if I have this right with because I don't know if it's exactly a question or a statement, but whenever you're judging someone else, there's an essence of them that you're judging about yourself, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be judging it in them. They are the reflection of you, right? They're that projection. And if you're talking a lot, let's just say this with love too. If you're talking a lot about you when you're judging them, there's some essence maybe of like you not feeling heard or acknowledged, and you're trying to get the attention to be on you, right? You're making it about you, and it may not be about you, right? We're humans. We make everything about ourselves. Right? Usually it might be about them, right? But it's a little bit of a vague statement. So I hope I shed enough light onto that one. Okay. So how about picking up on strangers' negative energies? Tell me what you mean about that, babe, because so picking up on strangers' negative energies, here's how I look at this. If you're picking up on a stranger's negative energy, so what? Why do we attach to it? Like, I want to just start bringing more awareness to like, why are we attaching that to making that a thing, right? Like, oh, how to block myself from other people's energies, right? Just being aware of how, what you're bringing your awareness to. Because what you're bringing your awareness to, you're going to complete, or you're going to bring more about, right? You're going to bring more to you. So if you're focusing on other people's or strangers' negative energies, it's like, who cares? Is it affecting you? Why is it affecting you? You're only letting it affect you, right? So other people can have other people's energies, but if you're strong in your foundation of like you're just staying in your alignment, then no matter what anybody else is experiencing, it should not affect your flow, right? Yes, hearts on that. Let's see, there's something else I wanted to say on that, and I don't remember exactly what it was, so must not needed to be said. But we got hearts on that. So, like, do I want to say anything more on that? No. Was that helpful? Because like, I know it happens a lot, right? We're always like, how do you avoid and how do you, push away? And keep in mind that if you're having to say, how do I protect myself from other people's energies? You put yourself in the position of needing to be protected. So you just put yourself in a victimized position. You just put yourself in that like state of saying, okay, now I have to fight against something, or I have to block against something, right? So you're creating conflict in that awareness as it is. Yes, babe. Okay, good. I try my best to let others' energies not affect me. Okay, absolutely. Yes, to not affect. I hear you, baby. So I dated a martial artist once, a long time ago. And one of the greatest pieces of wisdom he offered is that in martial arts, right, whenever somebody comes in and like punches you or whatever, right, follow this for a second. Nobody's gonna punch you. And you go with the energy. Like if they're coming at you, you go with the energy and then let it slide by you. You don't block it, right? Or you might put up your hand to like, I'm not great at it, right? So, and at the same time, like you're not blocking to fight something, to fight against something. You are positioning yourself to shield, but then you're allowing the energy to flow, like roll off of you like water, right? So if you're saying, oh, I have to protect myself, I don't know why this went Wonder Woman style, right? Like I have to protect myself against other people's energies, right? To the best of my ability. But now what did you just do? Now you have this up. And what is this blocking now? You think, yes, this is blocking their negative energy from coming in, but guess what else it's also blocking? This is blocking your heart from being open and coming out at the same time, right? So you just put a block from other things, but then that's also putting yourself in that victimized situation, right? So I just want to offer a reframe on checking that language that you can be like, cool, somebody's got negative energy. Awesome. Like, let it flow through. Right? Like, who cares? They're doing, unless it's a friend and you need to be there and comfort and acknowledge and all that stuff, right? In which case, go to your friend and be like, you were in a bad mood. I totally get that. Let's like help get you out of that, right? Acknowledge it, right? Make them like feel like they're heard and acknowledged. This is just one example. And then like get them the fuck out of it, because they probably don't want to stay in that bad mood. Usually people are in a bad mood, maybe because they're like wanting some love and attention and hoping somebody is going to be like, all right, like, let's get in the car and fucking joyride. Right? Is that making sense? So yes, if it's someone that you don't know, cool, let it roll off like water. If it's somebody that you do know, be compassionate and then like help get them out of it, right? Okay. Interesting. Training the subconscious to send compassion towards them. So love you, but that's not a subconscious act, right? Like, you don't have to train your subconscious to send compassion. You can stand firmly consciously. Like, I hope you're consciously sending them, right? Like subconscious is like it's like the thing behind the wheel, right? Doing it. Like I would say stand fully conscious in sending them compassion, right? That's a little bit the difference between the subconscious and the conscious, but good awareness on that. Okay. Healthy boundaries. Okay. So not that much time for cards, but the 3 that fell out, because we only have a little bit of time left. So we got shock in the new this time, you guys. So I love it when this one shows up, because it's like, one, because there's so much geometry and there's like 2 like opposite sides, right? Masculine and feminine. There's all this, like the analytical, this represents like noise to me, but analytical, right? And this is like almost like the very feminine, even though technically that's on her right side, but that's the creative side. And then this is the left, the analytic side, right? So shock of the new, but balancing that analytical with then the creative and the emotional. So however this is playing out for you guys right now, what do I need to do? We're not going to get to business, but I'm going to pull this other one while I'm reading these. So shock of the new. Yeah, this one. Thank you. So that's nice. So shock of the new of whatever's coming in right now on your personal life, romantic life, all of the above. It's keeping that balance between your emotional side, your creative side, and the analytic side. So this goes a little bit with what we were talking about before, right? On the understanding process, but then also the emotional process. So just keeping yourself in check that you're not falling one side or the other, right? More on one side than the other, right? Okay. I love this one. Conscious connections. Okay. This I feel like goes very much with what we were talking about of bringing, like, it's bringing the unconscious conscious. It's bringing what is behind you, the thing that you don't know, whether it's past programming, whether it's connecting to that next highest version of yourself, connecting to that future version of yourself, connecting to that inner twin flame of you, your inner masculine, feminine, or connecting to that like partnership, right? This is conscious connections though. So we need to bring more. You don't need to do anything. I invite you to bring more consciousness to connecting in anything in each moment, right? So what I mean by that is whether that's you listening to your internal thoughts and bringing like a connection to that, like the way of our future in shifting, like the planet, the world, our culture, ourselves from the inside out is going to be reconnecting to ourselves, right? but we have to do that from a conscious standpoint. And when we can do that within, then we can do that with the relationships outside of ourselves. Good night, baby. Okay, the final one is the sacred fool. I feel like I'm rushing a little bit, and I kind of am because we're like, time is almost up. So the sacred fool always, I love when this one comes in. This one is still about play. This is all about play. Where are we taking ourselves too seriously? Where are we like not bringing like fun and dictating? It's so funny. I even brought this up to somebody. This was at a party, right? And they were like, what's really inspiring you lately? Or I can't remember what their question was or something like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I am consciously creating fun. And they're like, what do you mean you're consciously creating fun? Like, how do you, like, that sounds so complicated. Like, it sounds like a lot to think about, right? But I remember if, like, when we get so caught up in the mind of all these things that we're having to do, that we aren't present and connecting. Talk about conscious connections. We're not connecting with people. We're so in our heads. We're so thinking of the future, thinking of the past, right? Thinking about what anything that's in that moment of connecting. And if we're not connecting to those people, if we're not in the now moment, then we're also not connecting with ourselves. And then we're also not having any fun because we're all up here. So like literally consciously creating fun is like setting a serious intention for more play and fun, and like consciously making time for it, consciously being present, consciously like saying, okay, I'm going to go into this environment or this party or whatever it is, and I'm not going to think about anything that I have to do right now, tomorrow, 5 minutes, whatever. I'm literally just going to go in and be my fun and bubbly self, right? And just be that like sacred fool that is just about having fun. That is like your number one and only job, to just have fun. So get a little bit more in touch with that. And I pulled a bonus card. This was on, I felt like we needed some serious goddess guidance this evening. So as this was the one that I shuffled, this is Ein, I don't know, Leap of Faith. So this is our goddess card for this week, if you will. Take a risk and put your heart's true desire into action. So you have shock of the new, you have conscious connections, and you have sacred fool. So connecting more with yourself, others, consciously, having more fun and play, and then taking that leap of faith, whatever that is, whatever that thing is that you're afraid to do. If that's to leave a relationship, then leave a relationship. If that's to like call out that you care about somebody, then call out that you care about that person. Like take that risk, put your heart's true desire into action. If that's that you want to follow your purpose and you haven't been, do that. If that's to step in to like the future version of yourself that you've been like holding back from, do that. But whatever your heart is truly calling you to, and listening to that, because it will never, ever, ever lead you astray, ever, when you're following your heart. Not that fear up here, feel where it is in the body. I love you guys. Love all of your hearts. Love you for jumping onto Soul Circle every week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Sarah Delane, Conscious Lifestylist. If this resonates with you guys, go on YouTube, share with a friend, share it with a family member. Anybody that if you felt like there was some message that someone needs to hear, share this with a friend. Spread the love so that we can up-level the whole conscious community, collective, and ultimately the world, because that's what I believe we're all here for. I love you guys. Mwah. I will see you next week. Bye, babes. Bye, YouTube.